I know we're getting to the finish line. You only have literally between me and our cocktails, you got me left to get through. I'm going to introduce Mandy Kaur because I was like, I could introduce myself, and I already we all know each other to the great extent in the room. But I've asked Mandy Kaur to come up and do a really quick intro. Mandy is right now at the University of Detroit Mercy, graduating as well in 2020. Did undergrad work here at Western. One of the brightest minds up and coming here again in dentistry. Mandy, come on up.
Thank you, Vic, for such a warm welcome. So I actually completed my master's here a couple of years ago, right before I started dental school. So I lived in London, Ontario for a year. And there was this restaurant that I loved to go to. It was Fellini Coolini's. I liked going there, but I hated paying for parking. So I would drive my car down there with my friends. I would park in this little parking lot. It was some office with like a dentist, some financial group, some business of dentistry thing. And then I would go into the restaurant, have my meal, walk back out, pray and hold my breath that I didn't have a parking ticket. And I got away with it each time. So thank you, Vic, for never calling the parking police on me years before we'd even become acquainted, because goodness knows I owe the city of Toronto far too much in parking infractions. So it's my great honor and privilege today to introduce you all to Vic. Ladies and gentlemen, Vic Jindal graduated from the University of Western Ontario, and he holds multiple degrees in business and public administration. Since then, he's taken so many continuing education classes that are all about the dental professional industry. He works with thousands of dentists across the nation, and he and his team work in order to provide all of these services that are related to tax, to investment, to insurance, to practice management, and so much more. So for 25 years, Vic has been the president and CEO of Jindal Financial Group, that parking lot at that building where I would illegally park my car. Vic is also very active in his community. I don't know how many of you know this, but he has been the chair of many nonprofit organizations, and I'm going to read some of them off to you here. These include the London Health Sciences Foundation, Orchestra London, the London Club, Engage London, the Canadian Club of London, and the London Community Foundation. It's very clear where your heart lies, Vic. In addition, he's been a guest speaker at so many business, professional, and dental study groups across Canada. In fact, many of us at Detroit Mercy Dental made Vic's acquaintance at a conference that he put on for us back in our first year. We were so excited for the free food and the free drinks. We knew very little about teeth, but we were looking forward to learning so much more about the business aspect of dentistry, something that we really knew nothing about, even less. Fast forward about 4 years, and I think I can confidently say that we know a little bit more about teeth, right guys? Yeah? And a little bit more about the business aspect of dentistry, thanks to all of the conferences, events, and meetings that Vic has put on for us over the years. He's got this incredible network of rock star dentists that he brings out for us. Thank you all so much for being here. And all of these individuals, these brilliant minds, are here to teach us so much about this field that we're all stepping into, my dental students in the back there. And despite how busy he is, Vic and his team are always just a phone call, an email, or a text message away, ready, willing, and able to serve current dental students, new grads, and veterans in the field of dentistry, pursue all the things that they're interested in on the business aspect of dentistry beyond just the teeth. And so, without further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce a man that needs no introduction at all, and to introduce the individual that's behind this brilliant event today, Vic Jindal.
Thanks, Mandy. So kind. All right, we have got 29 and a half minutes right now. I'm going to fly you through the final points of the day. And really what I want to talk about is really the value of time. The conversation that a lot of us have on a regular basis right now is, wow, Vic, I am feeling so stressed and so busy and overloaded. It could be exams, it could be a practice startup, it could be the practice you have, the associateship, it could be all the things that are on a min's plate on a daily basis. Whatever it is, I mean, we are constantly battling between trying to be efficient with the time that we have and balance a little bit of life, as so many of the speakers have talked about today. We're going to do a really, really quick recap on the video. About 30 of you asked, can you play that video again from the morning setup, because a few of you got caught in the storm. So we'll play that, and then I will begin our presentation.
Cause you're a sky full of stars. I'm gonna give you my heart. Cause you're a sky full of stars. And cause you light up the path. I don't care, go on and tear me apart. I don't care if you do. Cause in the sky full of stars, I think I saw you. Let's go. Cause you're a sky full of stars. I wanna die in your arms.
Big shout out to Caitlin Darby out here, wherever Caitlin is, for putting that awesome video together in-house. So big shout out to Caitlin. We got me loaded? There it is. Value time. So this is a funny room right now that we're in. It's a cool room. We got about 7.2 billion people on the planet right now. And in the room today, we have current and future income right now of $1 billion. In this grand ballroom right now, I'm suggesting to you that there's $1 billion in play. And how you balance this time that you have available, everybody's been talking about opportunity from the minute we started the event today, and how you play with this commodity that we can't buy it. We can't go to any store and buy this time. We can't rent it. We can't trade it or sell it. You just have what you have. Let's see, is this on? Hang on. I'll give you stories today. These are interesting people that I've had the privilege of meeting in my life. So instead of talking any more dental, leave that to all the experts that you've already had the pleasure of seeing. I'm going to share 3 stories about time. So I'm 8 years old. I see a stack of newspapers, grew up modestly, and I said, I would love to have some cash at age 8. How does an 8-year-old make some cash? Pick up a Globe and Mail newspaper delivery route, get up at 5 a.m., raining, snowing, sunny, whatever. Strap the bag on. The bag was actually heavier than I was. And you get up, 5 a.m., I'm not a morning person, as some of you know, and you deliver the newspapers. And the bag got easier every time I deliver one more. And every time I deliver one more newspaper, one more newspaper, one more newspaper, I got 2 pennies. It's 2 cents a paper. Delivered 100 newspapers a day, $2 a day. Picked up the Sunday Star 7 days a week, $14. Monthly income, $56. That was all the money in the world when you're 8. And my parents and I would play the ATM game where we'd go with the cash or the check of the week and deposit to the bank, get the little slip. It'd be up, depending on the week, minus allowance in McDonald's sometimes, $10. All the money in the world. And that was the value of time. So now I'm 10, and my dad took me to a trade show that I really badly wanted to go to. At the show were vendors of everything. You could buy a new bike, a used bike. They had antiques, collectibles, and they had comic books. I was there for the comic books. I'm 10. I'm loving life. Showed up at the comic, or at this particular one in 1982, with $20. And went hunting for deals. Now, I'm really lucky. My mom is here after 25 years of getting to speak all over the place. I got real lucky, and my mom decided to be present today. And she taught me this really funny lesson. She said, you know what, kid, you should negotiate. My mom is the best negotiator I've ever met. I mean, you got no shot if you're going against her, man. None. Whatever the deal is, I call her the silent assassin of negotiation, because she can actually get something at whatever price, and the person selling it, she'll actually get it at the end of the day for free, and they'll feel really good about it. So in 1982, came across a vendor over there that had a bin of these comic books. And I had this thing for Spider-Man, so I said, oh, there's Spider-Man. It's a 12-cent comic book, August 15th, 1962. 10 years before me. And he had all kinds of other stuff in his little stall over there at that big trade show. And he said, I want $8 for that. Mom's lesson, you got to start negotiating, kid. We haggled down. We got from 8 to 7 to 6 to 5. Got him down to $4. I couldn't grind him down to free, let alone 2 or 3, but we settled at 4. He wasn't particularly happy. I got the comic book I wanted. It was in a 15 millimeter Mylar bag. My dad said, anything else? I said, nope, we're good. I got the comic book I wanted. Had $16 still in my jeans. We left. Now, what's funny with this, the comic book came out of the 5 a.m.s and the 2 pennies a day per paper. And I looked on eBay recently. I've been tracking the value of this comic book. It traded on June the 19th, 2019 for $598,000. Now, it's in a vault, not in my home, safe, and it sits there. And it reminds me of the awesome grind of the 2 pennies a day. Anybody recognize this guy? He's an interesting guy. Had the pleasure of picking him up from the airport 10 years ago. I was doing some volunteer work at the university. I was the guy that they said, go pick this guy up from the airport when he lands. Picked him up. I was holding a little sign that said this guy's name. I might as well have had the chauffeur's hat on too. Found him, came out, drove him. He was hungry. We stopped for lunch. And then I had to take him to the university, and he was going to do a lecture that day. This is Dr. Seymour Schulich of the Schulich School of Dentistry, the Schulich School of Business, Schulich Hospital Wings, and Schulich everything else. Some of you have received a $100,000 scholarship that are sitting in this room because of this guy paying it forward. So over lunch, I'm like, how many times do you get to hang out with a guy that's worth $1.75 billion, self-made? I want to talk about, what do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the value of time? And he said, here's the game. You got time on one side, you got money on the other. And when you have a lot of time, you're trying desperately, and you don't have enough income, you're just trying desperately to grind away, make some cash. Have enough cash, do you have enough cash? And sometimes you just keep grinding and grinding and grinding, and you trade the time. And that was the ever-changing struggle for him and so many of the people in the room. When's enough? Where's the balance? Can I have a life? Can I work 3.5 days a week? Do I work 7 days a week? What is it? Is your time managing you, or are you managing your time? Every minute we wake up and we're like, wow, I got a list. I got to do this, 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 and this. And we always feel like we never get the list done. Every day. 168 hours every 7 days. 10,080 minutes every week. Those minutes fly by like crazy when you guys are in operatory, doing your thing, managing your teams, being an associate, cutting deals. The week flies. Malcolm Gladwell wrote this book. It's called Outliers. If you've read it, awesome book. It could also be called Disruptors. And what Gladwell said, he said, and again, he hypothesized this, he said, there's a 10,000-hour rule with your time. The key to success is practicing a task 20 hours a week for 10 years, and he hypothesized that you'd be an expert in whatever that task was. Be it dentistry, be it in finance, be it a basketball player, an Olympic athlete, whatever you practice for that, on average, 10,000 hours, you'll probably be an expert in that craft. Awesome book again, The Blue Ocean Strategy. It could also be called The Blue Ocean Disruption Strategy. The hypothesis was that, and this is where disruption, this is the theme of today. If everybody is doing it the exact same way, what differentiates you from anybody else in what you do? You can clinically be great. Business-wise, you can set all your key performance indicators and be great. Fantastic. Is there differentiation yet? And we're suggesting to you that in disruption, I mean, in that video, shout out to Smile Direct Club, Invisalign, Digital Dentistry. We've got two guys sitting right over there. Their name has been mentioned all day long. Mian Quick and Jeff Sumner, two disruptors, creating efficiencies at the highest and fastest level. Trying to do it a little bit differently. Jeff and I were catching up the other day. He's having more fun now in his career than he has ever had in his life. Right now. This is the most fun he's having. Ever. Because he's literally disrupting how he's doing his own dentistry. He's doing what he loves. Kim and Morjuan said, creating and capturing uncontested market space without concern for the competition. Amin said it an hour ago. Should you be worried about the DSOs, the Sherrigans, the Rondinellis, anybody else that's in this room eating your cake? Absolutely not. There's so much opportunity sitting out there for every single one of you that all you have to do is be you. The question often asked is, but I can't be an Amin, I don't want to be a Sherrigan, a Rondinelli, a Sheikh, a Carrier, or anybody else that's here. That's not me. That's not the question. The question is, you should be you. And take the time that you have to find your own path and find your own way, and that's how you differentiate. For 100% successful dentists that can find 2,000 patients that know them and like them and come back every 6 to 9 months are going to be highly successful in their one practice. You need 2,000 people in any given community or city to be rock star successful. Everything after that is cake. It's gravy. This is the next interesting guy that got to meet in my life. His name's Rob O'Neill. Rob's 43 right now. Interesting story with him. He grew up in a small town in the United States. At the age of 19, he decided that he wanted to join the Army. The choice that he made when he wanted to join the Army is he said, And he was thinking about this since he was about 8 years old. Might be a little twisted sounding. He said, I want to be a military sniper. That was his life choice, his life dream. Certainly wasn't dentistry. So Rob enlisted in the Army. When he was going to enlist, they said, you know what, kid? You might be better served in the Navy. Had a bit of an attitude, a little bit of a cowboy. So Rob skips over to Navy, gets some training, joins the Navy SEALs, gets some training, joined SEAL Team 6. 400 missions, trained to make life-threatening decisions in 1/10 of 1 second. That was the decision-making value of his time. I'll die if I don't make the right decision in 1/10 of 1 second. Talk about 10,080 minutes in the week. He was counting down 1/10. So SEAL Team 6 and this guy are doing their training. He's practicing. 10,000 hour rule? Forget that, man. 40,000 hour rule. Training and training and training and training and training. So he gets a call from the President of the United States of America. And they're like, you're going in. You and your SEAL Team 6. So the value of his time that day is he says, I think there's a good shot. We hope we're successful, but I think there's a good shot we don't come out of this. Because we're going to get on a helicopter, we're going to fly into Afghanistan, and we're going to try and take out the #1 hit list guy on planet Earth. That was the mission. Wrote a letter to his family, as he often did, to say, I don't know if I'll have time ever again to write another letter to you, but here's one more letter. So they practiced and they practiced. They took their time, they took their expertise, they took their time, they took their expertise. Everything that they learned, timed it out with stopwatches, military training left, right, and center. This is years. This is your whole life training for this next mission, mission number 400. The only thing that they said would really screw this thing up is if the helicopter that they were flying in with happened to crash. They flew in, helicopter crashes, gets shot down. Emergency landing, they're still alive. They get out of the burning helicopter to continue the mission. So now you've got a person that's planned out everything in increments of 1/10 of 1 second. They've got the team, they've got the mission. It's May the 2nd. And their exit chopper is on flames and fire, and they've got to go do what they have to do. Mission was successful. Did what they had to do. So this is an interesting story with this guy. Discharged from military, had done all these things for his country, goes out, I met him in San Francisco, and he had been stranded out of a snowstorm, basically. Jessica, his now wife, was the facilitator of the meeting. They went out, she said, I feel bad for this Rob guy who's going to have dinner at the bar by himself. So they went out, and happy ending, guy gets married to Jessica. Are you pursuing the happiness? So right now, when Dr. Schulich said, are you balancing time or are you balancing money? People here in this room right now, some of you, that big cohort over there, is in debt right now between $350,000 and $600,000 right now. And some of you might be freaking out about it. Some people here in the room have leveraged loans right now, their practice purchase for a couple of $1 million. I mean, in the 1, 2, 3 team over here have about $460 million plus in play right now. And everybody's trying to manage this thing. Why is everybody here today? Why is anybody doing what they're doing? Yeah, we want to help the patient, want to be good partners, but everybody's pursuing the happiness quotient. Every single person. This is what we're trying to do. If you're happy now, phenomenal. I bet you're chasing more happiness. This is all that the game is right now. Met this guy. So he's an interesting guy. When I met him, this is a picture of him when he was 27 years old. This guy had no breaks in his life. None. He had all the time in the world because he couldn't make a buck. 2 cents, he'd take it. Couldn't make it. Nobody gave him any shot. High-functioning guy, life wasn't working out. Wife gets upset. She's like, I'm bouncing, I'm out. His son at the time, shown in the picture, 2 years old. So he has no job. He has no money. He has all the time in the world, but his time is getting squeezed trying to find a job and look after a 2-year-old toddler. Ran out of money. So 27, this dude's homeless. That's Will Smith in this photograph playing the role of Mr. Chris Gardner. What he has in his hands over there is a medical device. At that time, it was a bone density scanner. And he went around to hospitals trying to sell a bone density scanner so he could make $300, so he could buy food and maybe a place to sleep that night. And all the while, he's lugging around a 2-year-old. So what happens to somebody? Azim talked about it just a few minutes ago. We're so blessed. Like, this is crazy. We're just finished talking about the $1 billion that's in the room. These are real-life problems. These are the kind of patients, again, Glenn's talking about. These are the people you could possibly help. You cut them a break, you give them a hand. What did he do? He kept grinding. He just kept on going. It's funny, when I had this pleasure of hanging out with Chris, I'm like, what motivates you to keep going in life? Like everything, you have been kicked in the face by life for the better part of 2 decades. How do you have the will to keep on just trucking through this? And he's like, this is just how I'm wired. He's like, things will work out. This is one of the most positive intentioned human beings I've ever met in my lifetime. This is true. This guy and his son slept in the bathroom at the railway station. Now, you could lock the door, again, at that particular station, so they'd sleep in the bathroom. He'd roll out the toilet paper. They were real hungry. And people would be banging on that door. And all he's trying to do is just stay warm and try and just have a place for his son to be able to sleep that one night. So they're going to pick the bathroom until they get kicked out. And you move from shelter to shelter. Time's a problem, money's a problem. Still happy guy, trying to grind through as best as he can. So now we fast forward. That's Chris Gardner, that's his son. Recent picture. I'll tell you how it worked out for him. Because he kept grinding, because he kept trying to follow the 10,000-hour rule, he got a few breaks in his life. Not many, but a few. He really only needed one. And this is how it's turning out right now. He kept practicing and practicing and practicing and grinding and grinding and grinding to get better. And he became a futures trader. He still is considered one of the most successful, not one of, he is the most successful futures trader in America. And his current net worth happens to be $100 million. This is the same guy that not that many years ago was sleeping in the bathroom. There's somebody sitting here in the room here right now, they'll go nameless, but this individual and their partner lived like this. And this person is here. They had no money when they got to Canada, but they wanted a better life. So how they did it is they said, I'm going to trade my time for money. Happened to work at 7-Eleven, gas stations, drove buses, any job you wanted. If you're going to pay me, they'll do it. What do you do with the cash? Took it to pay for continuing education courses to try and help to get towards dentistry for his partner. So that worked out. Interesting story about them. They got through. Life is really, really good right now. They purchased a home on a private golf and country club. I haven't had a chance to visit the place because it's out west. And the appliances in the house, when I looked at the video, are worth $70,000. And it's unbelievable grind when I tell you that the same couple slept in a basement on a carpet with a pillow and a blanket, and that's the total sum possession that they had in their lifetime. But they just kept pushing through, and the happiness factor was pretty high between them, and the goal was not going to let go. So I know this person's sitting here right now. It's not really much different. So what's the idea? The idea is to pay it forward. Every single thing today has been disruptive, but has it really been so disruptive? The message is exactly the same from everybody. It's like, what can we do to make a difference on the patient, on the partners, on the practice, in your relationships, family, friends, everybody, right? The volunteer stuff that all of us collectively get to do, yeah, we do it for somebody else. It's great for us. It gives you that great perspective on how life can continue. So again, don't be afraid of the challenge and the opportunity. This industry is moving so fast, so disruptively. I know we've used that term probably 40 times today, but it's exciting. Like right now, you have every opportunity available to you. You have so much resource available to you right now to move through. So we're going to encourage you. Pay it forward, give it back, partner with everybody that's here, and the value of your time is going to be so well rewarded as you go through life. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude our speaker part of today. I'm going to ask all of our guest speakers to come up to the front. We're going to go Q&A style for the next few minutes. If you could take a moment, and can we put the Slido piece up there? You can take out your mobile device. You don't have to download this app. You can just log into the website, put the code in right there, DD20, so join at www.slido.com. And you can ask any of our 8 speakers here any question you would have instead of having to ask it. For those of you that want to come up to mics, we have a mic on the left and a mic on the right, so please feel free to come on up. So I'm going to ask our esteemed guest and our disruptors to come back up on stage, and we'll get Q&A going. Any order you want. Anywhere you want. So why don't we start with a Slido question if we can. So anonymous person asked, how can we expect the potential government changes to include dental services as part of healthcare coverage to impact dentistry? Who wants to take a shot at that one? Heesh, you're up.
Very tough question.
Yeah.
It's a very tough question, and it is very tough to predict as well. The closest system that I can actually think of or relate to actually exists currently in the United Kingdom. And what that essentially does is it actually creates a 2-tier system where if the government goes ahead and subsidizes dentistry, unfortunately, you have to remember and understand that we're a small business. And sometimes with the margins that are provided, we're not even able to take care of our own sundries, our own marketing, our own staff. So what that results us to do is to switch our models in two different ways. The first model that we have to take on is going to be a volume-based model, where we see as many of these government individuals as possible just to help increase our margins. The second model will actually consist of not seeing these individuals at all and just turning it towards more of a private model where we have to actually up our prices a little bit as well. And that's just my personal opinion.
Great. Slido question 2. How do you split your time at each practice? What do you do with your time at each managed practice? Mike, that might be a good one for you. Yeah.
So this was something that I went back and forth on a couple times. So when I started to expand, I used to spend a half a day at almost every practice, and I used to run around like a chicken with my head cut off. And I was stressed, and it was going everywhere. So I'm really big on having a home base. So I work predominantly at one practice and rely off my management team to manage the other locations. So I enjoy going into work, seeing the same group of patients that I've seen for the last 8 years. I want to say I kind of almost myself have a closed group of people that I take care of. And I enjoy practicing in my hometown and getting to see my family, my friends. I've even recently set up a little nursery in my office, so it's kind of fun. And yeah, so I've done both models, and I personally prefer the one. I know Dr. Shergan is very hands-on at every single one of his locations. He'll go around clinic to clinic, and God bless him, he has a lot more energy than I do. So yeah, there's just it's really a matter of preference, and there's different models, and it's just whatever fits best with your personality.
Another Slido question. Oh, we got Riley. Yeah.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to ask to the same people again, Dr. Rondinelli and Dr. Shergan. I had a question about, you've done so many startups. About how long does it take you when you do a startup before you start breaking even, if you don't mind me asking? And then the other thing I was curious about is, how far in advance do you start marketing to patients when you know you're going to be doing a startup in an area?
To give you a really short answer, I find about 18 months is the magic number for how long it starts to generate some decent cash and start breaking even. Obviously, that's contingent on the location and a bunch of other factors. But to answer your question really quickly, that would be it. There's just so many factors that go into a startup. So yeah, from the marketing standpoint, nowadays it takes so long to establish a brand. So you need to set up like Google My Business pages, start registering your name, start registering everything on the internet, and start generating traffic to your website so you can start appearing on Google. So the earlier you can do that, the better. So what my marketing coordinator does is the second we know that we're committing to an area, we're already setting up Google business pages, we're already running some ads towards generating traffic to the websites, so that we can be recognized when we are actually open for business. We already have a recognizable entity on the internet.
Jim, do you want to add in on that?
Yeah, sure. I agree with Mike, but also keep in mind and understand that being cash flow positive also consists of what your overhead is on a day-to-day basis. How much did you put into your investment? A safe bet would be about 17, 18 months, but we've seen practices that become cash flow positive after 6 months, but it all depends on the way that it's being managed. And I couldn't agree with Mike more. When it comes to marketing yourself, start now. Start as early and as soon as you possibly can, because as it was said earlier, you can't start soon enough.
Mandy, yeah.
My question's directed at Dr. Manchester, actually. Thank you so much for your presentation on outreach. I was on a mission trip this summer, and it occurred to me while we were there that while you're going into a community and you're doing this incredible work, is it possible that you might be disrupting like the local dental economy as well? Because that was something that kind of came up. And how do you still go abroad and do these incredible things for people overseas without negatively impacting the local dental community as well, or the dental economy there?
So the way it's kind of communicated when we're in Jamaica is that the Great Shape, the 1,000 Smile program, pardon me, is a well-established program, and it's kind of, it stays separate out of the local dental economy in terms of the dentists who are there are doing high-end work on high-end patients. So there's a lot of wealth inequality in Jamaica, so there's these giant sprawling mansions and a lot of people living in sort of suboptimal conditions. So there isn't really a middle ground for people in that community to have access to care. So I think that it's not so disruptive, and I did touch on it in my presentation that I try to refer when I'm going to be doing harm anyway. Like I try to say, see a dentist, they will see them, it's just expensive. The one thing that I would say is almost disruptive as well is that you're there for a certain amount of time, but then there's no follow-up. So that ends up being a disruptive thing as well. The Great Shape Incorporated is working at getting a full-time clinic that can see patients for a repeat basis, not necessarily for regular care, but for follow-up from treatment that they've got on the trips. It's a tough one. Like, it's a tough thing to balance. So would a lot of those people be getting care at all? I think they'd be avoiding it personally, but yeah, you definitely have to be careful that you're not stepping on toes there. So it's something to be aware of for sure.
Thanks, Mandy. Slido question. There it is. From a business perspective, how do you deal with unhappy patients? Azim.
So the best way I find to deal with unhappy patients is you get them to write their concern actually on a piece of paper. So we have these papers that we have in the front staff, at the front desk. It's in a private area. And then what happens is those papers go into this special box. And the special box is located right next to the leg of my office manager. It looks kind of like a garbage can. We don't really call it. No, I'm just kidding. So how do you deal with an unhappy patient, in essence, is first figuring out why is the patient unhappy. And typically the patient is unhappy because you haven't met their expectation. So when you understand, and I teach, I say this a lot, is always under promise and over deliver. As a result of doing that, you typically will be able to meet the patient's expectations. So it's avoiding getting into those situations in the first place. And then after that, of course, managing it. I personally like to manage it personally, if I can, because that conversation can get fairly heated between staff and patient. So I will actually pick up the phone and deal with a patient who's unhappy and try to remedy their concerns. But I think it's having that unhappy patient from the beginning and dealing with their expectations. And that's one of the most common reasons for our CDSO complaints today is a lack of managing your patient's expectations. So I'd really encourage you all to ensure that you can do that thoroughly, set the bar low, and then deliver high. That's the key.
Take a Slido question. Yeah, please. Yeah, Melissa, absolutely.
And this is a broad perspective. And again, this is more in business development in all industries, is the whole feel, felt, found. So if you can get down to the patient or person or anybody who's unhappy, the truth is that they're unhappy because they're not being heard, and they're not feeling like they're being, perhaps, there's no empathy there. So sometimes if you use the feel, felt, found format, that will help. I see what, I hear you. I feel how you feel. I understand how you feel. I've felt the same way, or I've had a patient that has felt the same way. And I've found that in this scenario, if you do this, this may be of help. So it's a very non-invasive, it's kind of meeting people where they're at and feeling them and empathizing with them. And 9 times out of 10, and this is just even just dealing with clients and things like that, is just hearing them out. What is it that they're looking for? Empathizing with them and going from there.
Amen.
Yeah, I'm going to add something. I agree 100% with Azim, but there will be a time when a decision has to be made, and it's usually writing a check. And your time is valuable, as we just saw from the presentation from Vic. So generally speaking, write the check and carry on.
It's easier when you have $460 million in your bank account, right? So it's a little easier. You startups, you're feeling it a little more. What are some of the things you wish you knew in or throughout dental school? Anything you would do differently? So that's our buddy right here.
The things that I taught today, basically. So I wish I had gotten that lecture, not from myself, obviously, but from somebody. And main thing that I wish I knew is that Dental Town existed, which I did know, but I'd be willing to bet that most dental students here, maybe I'm wrong, but I bet you not a lot of you are on Dental Town, not even on a daily basis, but even on a monthly basis, or do you even have an account? If not, I suggest you go home tonight and make an account. I personally learned more in Dental Town than I did in all my years of dental school. And that's where kind of everything started for me. What I would do differently, I don't think anything, honestly. But would I start a practice so early or buy into a practice so early if I had to do it again? Maybe not. I have no regrets, but I wouldn't really encourage, and I think this is fair to say, most people to do either a startup or an acquisition in their first year. I'd say most people wouldn't be happy with it. And that's just my personal opinion. But that's basically the only thing I wish maybe I would have done differently, is maybe just get a bit more clinical experience, a bit more business experience before jumping in like I did. But would I do it differently? Probably not.
Glenn?
And if I can just add to that, I 100% agree with Jake. Things to do, I wish I knew that continuing education existed, I think, in dental school. We take everything, I mean, I know you guys are right in it right now, and you take it all so seriously, and it's so stressful, but it's like a very small portion of your career. You're basically just learning how to use your hands properly, and there's so many resources after school for you to become, there's business resources like this, there's the courses that Jake's talked about, there's everything that you're going to be a great dentist. Stop taking it so seriously. And if I could tell myself anything differently at dental school, it'd be chill out and do more hot yoga, I guess. Because I was so stressed. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel that gets so much better. I would say that.
Yeah.
So I went to school a long time ago compared to some of these guys, but I really think it's kind of the whole culture right now is trying to get more and more done in a day, like Vic was saying. And I'd kind of revert back to enjoy your days at school. And really, you got some great mentors sitting on the stage here. And all the stuff that we've learned, you can get from us in a few hours. That, it's so much easier to work with a mentor, I think, at the end of the day. I put my kids through Kumon and all that stuff. Honestly, they should just be kids. So I think part of that answer is also, if you want a balance, then enjoy the days in school as well. Like, don't go crazy about dental business and everything else. Like, you cannot get it all done, and it's better to be healthy. And I think that's the personality. This depends on who you are. He really enjoyed doing the extra stuff, but you're going to get a lot of it done when you get out with good advisors and people. And it's part of that dental community that I was talking about. We're in it together. I think any one of us will help any one of you.
Yeah, for sure. Please, yeah.
I'll just add on to both Glenn and Min's points. So the main thing I miss about dental school is the camaraderie that you have with your peers. And you don't really realize what you have until you leave. And I never thought I'd miss school. When I got out, I was like, oh, great, this is awesome. But then I look back at it, and part of me kind of misses a lot of it. And most of that is just the camaraderie you have with your classmates. It's like soldiers who go to war. I'm not comparing us to soldiers, mind you. What we do is not as serious, obviously, but it's like soldiers who go to war and they come back. And you ask them, do you miss anything about war? Most of them will say, I miss it every day. And most people don't understand that, but the reason why they miss it is because of the camaraderie. And so my advice to you in school is take advantage of that and don't take it for granted. I mean, you have a lot of challenges against you every day, and it's really easy to get caught and oh my God, I got to do this other denture case, and oh, I got this other exam, and this clinical instructor won't let me do this extraction. It's all these little things that they can kind of bring you down if you let them bring you down, but just focus on the bigger picture, have fun, and most importantly, just enjoy each other's camaraderie.
Yeah, Glenn.
Jake, I just saw 1917, and I think Schulich was only half as bad as what it was in that movie, so to fill it in. I'm just kidding.
No, it's all good. What's the best way to find someone who's willing to mentor you as a new grad? This is a phenomenal question because it's a question that's asked constantly all the time. Can you hook me up with a mentor? Can you introduce us to a mentor? How do I find one that's going to kind of help me through this journey? This is literally for every single person on this panel, but Azim, you're up, man. Yeah.
I have 3 boys. My wife will kill me. No, you know what's funny is that, so patients come into my office all the time. I had one patient last week come in and said, can you do an implant for $500? Seriously. And I said, you know what? I can't, but I'm really glad that you asked. Because if you didn't ask, you wouldn't know. And we have done patients' implants for that patient later got an implant for $500 through a surgery program that I teach. Because we were doing surgery, new doctors are learning, so they were looking for patients. So, you know, as Waqar reached out to me, I think all of us have made it very clear that we're very approachable. And it's amazing to me how little people reach out and ask because they're intimidated, you know, or they don't feel like they're going to get a good response. If you don't ask, you really don't know, and that's why I started my study club, which started off with 4 doctors and now has grown to 55, and we're still growing it. We're still open to new members. That's probably why you guys have the Dentistry Academy. So it's available. The best way to do is ask, and you'll be surprised what comes back. I'm open to it. I know a lot of these guys have made it, everybody's and ladies have made it very clear we're here to help.
Please.
Everything that Azim said was absolutely true to the point. We have something right now that we never had access to when we were starting out, and that's social media. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. There's nothing wrong with reaching out to any one of us via those channels. And I'm yet to say no to anybody who's ever requested to come in on shadow. And you know, myself, Dr. Queck, Dr. Sumner, this is something that we deal with on a daily basis. And you know, it's really good because when we have students shadowing us, it actually shows our patients that we also care about giving back, we care about helping. And you know, it's something that it's so rewarding, and it goes both ways. And one other thing that I want to add to it too is that, you know, it's not about just picking up the phone and calling and saying, okay, who can mentor me? Even when you go ahead and you start working within your practice, be that person. You know, there are people that come to mind, Jake Carrier, James Kim, Dr. Jazz Takar. Every time we would come into the office, it's like they would literally lay down the red carpet for us. They would anesthetize the patient. They would do everything that they could just to come in and watch, whether it's on a Saturday, Sunday, any day of the week. They did everything that they could to put the time in early on in their careers to see and learn all of the tricks of the trade from every one of the mentors that they had access to.
I know, Amin, I'll just kind of cut in. Amin, I know we were talking last night about the fact that you're back at UBC right now doing mentorship and instructing basically back at the dental school.
Yeah, that's correct. You know, I give my card to everybody. It's got my mobile on it. It's got my email on it. Feel free to reach out. I think, again, Vic will connect you to us any way possible. I just think, again, it's our community, and I don't think anybody here is not here to help. I think some of the attitudes out there is, you know, worried about losing patients because a guy opened across the street. Well, you have a choice. You can go help that guy, or you can be enemies, and it's as simple as that. He's opening, and generally speaking, if you help, you're going to be doing well, they're going to be doing well, and really, it's our community, guys, so we have to stick up for each other.
Can I add something?
Please, Melissa, yes.
So just getting back to the social media aspect of things, you know, first of all, Vic, what you're doing right here in this room, this is mentorship. right? So I've always been a huge believer of events, attending events. That's where you get to meet the people. You get to kind of rub shoulders with the people who have gone before you. It's almost like a time collapse, it collapses time and allows you, like the other panelist said, that the information that you may not have gotten before now is just being given to you in one seminar. And to give you an idea of the power of social media, there are so many groups out there in any dental industry, every single industry that you go online, whether it be LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, now TikTok, and there are people who want to share information, and then other people who are thirsty for knowledge. And there's a gentleman in the room, I think it's Iza, where are you? Put your hand up. Okay, there you are. So he came up to me at the break and he said, Melissa, I wanted to meet you because, I came here from Maryland. So he just got in here this morning or last night, and he saw a post that I posted on social media of this event. I have no idea who this guy is, just met him today. I can imagine that we're gonna be like lifelong friends. But the fact that he's thirsty for knowledge, he's looking for connection, he's taking the step, he went on social media to find groups of interest and ended up flying here to this event to meet all of you guys to learn the knowledge. And I can imagine that you'll have a whole group of new mentors to help you out along on your journey. So good for you.
Rachel will be great to comment on this because you're hanging out with some of the top tier dentists on the planet.
So I totally agree with the points that have already been made about the power of social media and mentorship. What was really interesting about the Dental Influencers Alliance meeting that I attended last month in Scottsdale was that most of these people had never actually met in person, but they had relationships that had been formed over 1 to 3 years even on various social media platforms, primarily Instagram. And the type of mentorship extended far beyond just clinical expertise, implant dentistry, surgery, veneer cases. It really helped them shape how they would approach dentistry, approach CE, balance work, life, and family obligations. So what's beautiful about social media, you don't even have to be in the same location as a potential mentor. Use these platforms, find people whose work inspires you, use the comment section, the DM section, like I said, to engage with them and ask them questions. And most of these people are more than happy to take the time to share that knowledge with you.
Thank you. Faisal, you're up.
This question is for Dr. Sheikh. I know you spoke from a marketing standpoint about targeting a specified group, and I know you stated your office, no one speaks any South Asian dialect at all. So I'm just wondering, how do you target a specified group to get them in the office?
So great question. So the question, just to repeat it, was that how am I targeting the patients that I want in Brampton, focusing on a non-ethnic environment, being around ethnicity? Yeah, so I think overall, for myself, it was growing my name in the industry and having other doctors understand who I am and what I can do, because otherwise I'm up against everybody else. I mean, I literally can look out my window and see 3 offices that are doing evenings, weekends, and take 80% coverage. So for myself, I realized if I do advertising, I mean, trust me, I've tried it all, and they're much better at it than I am, for sure. It failed. So for me, I knew right from the get-go that I needed to figure out how I could get those higher generating income cases. And that was through lecturing, through becoming a key opinion leader, working with several companies, training doctors, helping them, growing a network of doctors who, definitely are benefiting from my mentorship, but also can't do everything themselves. And as a result, I'm seeing those more difficult cases, those challenging cases that they can't do. So I think for me, that's been my niche. And as a result, I don't care if I'll see less patients and make quadruple the amount. But it's hard. I'm not going to lie. In Brampton, it is super tough. I'm sure everywhere it's super tough. But you have to have a vision. And I think that's what I stressed, is have a vision. There's a market out there. You just may not know what that market is. And for me, I was very specific about it. I hope that answers the question.
Yep. And sorry, one more thing. Have you ever hit the top speed in that Lambo?
We took it out to the track with Wakar. I think we had to have a cleaning of the seat after the yeah. But no, we're gonna get it out on the Mosport track, the big track this year. So.
Jackie Lopez from Savannah.
So I'm a new endodontist. I've been an endodontist for a year, and I feel lucky to be here today after 13 months that I finished my residency, because of course during this year I've been facing a lot of challenges, not just clinical, but also management, communication, things like that. So as all of you, I believe in sharing, in teaching, and working with my referring dentists to make them better in endodontics and also how to help them out. So I have 2 questions. What do you value the most about your relationship with your referring doctors? And also being in the model today where some offices have their specialists working with them under the same roof, or other models where you refer to another office. I know this is a question that maybe not everyone is brave to ask. I want to know exactly how do you see the future, and how do you see this is going to work better for all of us as general dentists and specialists?
That'd be a good question for Mike and Hisham, given the complexity of each of their business models. So. Sure. So I think one of the questions was, again, how do you view referral-based dentistry to specialists then, in light of the fact that right now there are a number of, again, GPs that are bringing specialty dentistry in-house and bringing specialists in-house?
Yes, and sorry, Vic, so
Yes.
there were 2 questions.
Yep.
That one, and also what do you value the most in your relationships with the dental specialist?
With referring specialists. Yep. Mike, you want to take a stab first?
Well, as much as you appreciate the management advice, I appreciate you doing all the endos, because I sure don't want to do them. But anyways, to answer your questions, yeah, I think the landscape is changing with respect to the GP specialist model. I'm a big believer that kind of everything in Canada follows the US eventually. So what we're seeing down there is that a lot of GPs are working in these a lot of specialists are working in these mega GP offices. So is that going to come here eventually? Probably, right? And like Dr. Shivji said, the amount of DSOs and the group model percentage is growing in Canada. So what you will see is specialists joining alliances with groups. I think it's a phenomenal thing, because at the end of the day, we're here to service the patients. So for a patient to be able to have some services provided by a specialist in-house in an environment that they're familiar with, I think is great. The number 2 reasons why patients don't go to the dentist is fear and cost. So if you're eliminating the fear aspect by treating them in an environment that they're familiar in and they're comfortable in, at the same time having the specialty work completed, I think is phenomenal. So I'm a firm believer in that. And I think to answer the second part of your question, I think the landscape is changing with respect to the specialists as well. I know we've assimilated ourselves with some phenomenal specialists. Dr. Finelli at Interface, who just joined, has been so accessible to our group. Has come into all of our associates and given lectures, and said that he's there for just about anything that we ever need him for, in an environment that he's reduced all barriers, and a GP doesn't feel stupid asking him a question anymore. So just having that relationship and that synergy between GPs and specialists, I think is absolutely phenomenal, because it solves the reason why we're all ultimately here, is to serve the patients better.
I agree 100% with Mike. I'll give you a perfect example with you guys at Savannah Dental. Why do we refer to Savannah Dental? It's because we trust you guys, we respect you guys, and we understand that you will be giving our patients the best quality care possible. And that's what we truly value, because at the end of the day, these are people that we care for, right? These are our family. And by going ahead and referring our family members, our patients, to people, knowing that they're going to be taking care of them as well as just as much as, if not better than what we can take care of them, that's what's really important. And I do agree with Mike when it comes to the specialist moving into the GP clinics or vice versa. It's all about patient care, and I think we can all agree that there is a slight breakdown in communication when it comes to the handoff. Whatever the specialty clinic may be, when we refer to our patients to the specialist, we sometimes don't understand what happened there, what took place, what was said, and by the time we get the response back, sometimes it's a little bit too late. So I think having the patient in a safe environment, and that's the dental practice that they're used to going to see, and having them treated there is, I think, something that's valuable for the industry as a whole.
Can I just add to that?
Please, Nazim. Yeah.
So just one thing to add to that is that I have a GP practice, and I'm doing specialty work, and general dentists are referring to me with a hygiene practice. So I think for yourself, the key is that if you can look at your practice as a conjunction or a total practice with, let's say, your practice. So when they come into your practice, they know they need an endo, correct? Are you presenting the cost for the final crown? You should, because you're helping your referring dentist get case acceptance for the crown. So I think it's that total team approach as opposed to this is your office and this is why my office. And that's how I've grown from 2 referring offices to 75 offices, is I've helped them grow together, whether it's their hygiene, whether it's their case acceptance on other types of treatments. That's, I think, the key to maintaining those relationships.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jackie. We've got 4 minutes left over here. Before we jump in the next question, I just want to comment on this. This is again a question that often gets raised. Is it the death of specialty dentistry, and do the GPs control all? And it's far from that. If you want a pediatric dentist, so we talked about 24,356 of you for this country. Well, we've got, I think right now, the last count was about 678 pediatric dentists for Canada. And right now, if you want to get into a pediatric dentist in this town or many other cities, most cities here, you're waiting about a year, typically, to be able to get a referral in. Perio offices are busting. You just can't even get treatment time in and so forth. The waiting lists are so long. Orthodontists aren't hurting. Everything is working along. OFMS, everything. So it's certainly not the death of specialty dentistry. It's how you pivot and how you grow and how you partner as you move forward.
I want to add.
Please, man.
So from a DSO perspective, I think, first, anytime we do a transaction, the biggest fear is, are we going to force them to refer to somebody or somebody in our network? And honestly, our goal is for them to continue working with the people that they are most comfortable with. Again, it's the patient that comes first. It's not the dollars. And I also know right now it's the patients demanding some of this treatment being done in-house. Again, when I was practicing, trying to send somebody to a periodontist or an endodontist, they're always like, can you just try it? They'd be sitting in front of you like, I just don't want to go anywhere else. Can you do it? And you're sitting there going, no, I just can't. But they just don't want to go somewhere else. So I think, again, from a DSO perspective, we want to maintain the continuity in referral basis, and it's the dentist that makes the final call where the patient goes.
Mm-hmm. The RCDSO establishes rigid guidelines to limit advertising campaigns, prohibit draws, prizes, gifts. How do you manage your ad campaigns? Do it.
There's a gentleman by the name of Fred Eckhouse at the RCDSO. My recommendation to you guys is to email Fred. He's an amazing individual. He'll get back to you within the day, your ad campaign, and say, Fred, is this acceptable to the by the RCDSO standards? If he says yes, you're good to go, because at the end of the day, if somebody sees a mail out or they see an ad campaign, they're going to make a complaint to the RCDSO. And the first thing that Fred's going to see is he's going to ask, were we made aware of that? And nothing is better than the RCDSO actually defending you on an ad campaign. right? It's a simple email and he'll get back to you within the day. I've worked with them for quite some time and they've been very pleasant to deal with.
So I'm going
Please.
to add something to that. I think people talked about, especially Azim, about taking care of patients, the care calls, the team working hard to create internal referrals. Honestly, this extra marketing is great, but most times people are just not asking for patients. It's so basic. When Azim does a care call, it's not just getting through. They know he cares, and it's very easy to say at the end of that call that, if you have any family or friends that need help or a dentist, we're going to look after them. So I think a lot of times people get caught up in marketing because we're all sitting here talking about it. The human interaction is probably your best marketing tool, and people are just not using it enough. And then to add to Hisham's, work with professionals. Don't try and do all this stuff yourself. You're going to get in trouble somewhere. Do you have time to email, check the ad, do all that? Make sure you get a good company, a good person looking after your marketing. Stick to dentistry.
Closing thoughts from any of our speakers, words of advice, students, practice owners, industry professionals that are in attendance as we wrap up.
We're in a great industry, guys, and it's growing, and the grass is green. I think you guys should all know that. I think whether it's small groups, individual practices, corporate dentistry, there's room for everyone, and there's room for everyone to get along and help each other. That's my message anyways.
Appreciate it. That's great. Ladies and gentlemen, our panel and our guest speakers of Disruptors today. Final housekeeping items. Your name badges that you have, if you can hand them off or put in bin basically on the way out the door over there or at the end of the cocktail hour. We do have our cocktail bars that are all set up. Everybody's got drink tickets basically. Absolutely stick around. Hope you have a chance to meet all of our speakers as well as mingle between yourselves. CE credits are available on your table. If you want to fill out that form over there, you've got 6 Category 3 points that are going to be available for today that need CE. So please fill it out over there, leave on table, and we'll make sure that you get your CE certificate. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out on your Saturday, spending Dentistry Disrupted with all of us. I want to do a big thank you to Doubletree, Freeman, all of our team at Jindal. You guys did an amazing, amazing job putting us all together. I want to thank our corporate sponsors. If we can slide that up over there. We've got our friends over at Sinclair, Patterson, our friends over at MNP, Learners, Dentsply Sirona, Concess. Alex Bagden flew in from California on behalf of Rooster Grin, Roy Corp, Dragon Tooth, big supporters of the event. And of course, hugest, biggest part of this, the entire team over at 123 Dental, Dr. Shivji, the whole gang over here. Huge shout out to these guys and everybody else that was a part of this. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your weekend. We'll look forward to seeing you again at the next event. Take care. Done and done.